Hey guys, Crypto here with a new YouTube video update. This one is going to be a follow-up to my last video that I shared about 2 weeks ago titled Meme-pocalypse. I got a lot of attention, a lot of people in what I would say disbelief about potential correction on most of these high cap memes. And in that video, I talked about why I'm expecting 40 to 50% drops across the board on some of these major meme coins. Since then, we have dropped quite a bit on quite a few of them. I don't think the correction is yet over, but this video is going to talk about what I expect to follow after that major washout. So in that video, I talked about how I don't expect this drop on memes to be the end of memes. I do think that they will recover. This current video is going to be talking about what I expect to follow. So on April 11th, I actually tweeted that the next big move will be brutal, but if you get past that, you'll get to enjoy up only the likes of which you haven't seen in over 3 years. And this was in reference to what we are now seeing across the board, this correction that we've seen on Bitcoin since the highs. We're now, I think, almost finished with that correction, but we do have some days for it to play out. And with that correction on Bitcoin, a much larger correction on most of the altcoins, specifically meme coins that I talked about in the last video. So what this video is going to talk about is it's talking about the part that happens after this brutal correction, the up only part that I referenced, the likes of which we haven't seen in 3+ years. Very, very significant upside to follow. So guys, to start off, let's go ahead and recap a little bit from the last video here on meme coins that I talked about 2 weeks ago. Again, if you haven't yet seen that video, you can find it on my YouTube. It is this video right here titled Meme-pocalypse. I recommend if you haven't seen it yet to watch it now, or you can go ahead and watch it after this video, because the correction that I talked about in that video is not yet over. We're at the halfway point thus far, and I think we have one more leg down to go across the board on many of these meme coins. It's worth watching if you haven't watched it yet, or you can watch it again after you view this video. So guys, let's go ahead and talk about meme coins. Here is the total 3 chart, which again is a market cap chart of the top, I think it's 150 or 250 coins in the space, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's a good gauge for how the alt market as a whole is doing. And you can see here that we have had significant upside off of our lows, a very clean accumulation bottom, significant low put in, higher low put in, and then markup to the upside. We've now hit levels that we didn't quite reach, or we reached a little bit higher in 2021, but I think we're going to go much higher by the time this is over. But we do have what I believe again to be the second leg of this correction down yet to occur. And let's just go ahead and take a look at some of the coins that I talked about in that last Meme-pocalypse video. We'll start off with WIF, a coin that I talked about in that video, and these are the markings that were shared in that video. You can see here that we had the area that I marked off for a rejection in red. I believe when we were recording that video, we were probably trading right around 270 on WIF. And I talked about I'm expecting a rejection in the red zone, and I'm expecting a leg down to the green zone down here, which is about 150 and below. It was met with a lot of disbelief and frustration, I guess, and a lot of people mocking the idea. You can see here that we did in fact move up to the red zone. We did in fact reject from the red zone. And then we did see thus far about a 30% move to the downside. Now I publicly shorted this. I posted when I shorted. I posted when I took profits on the short, which was right down here at about 270-ish. And I took profits here because I was anticipating a potential bounce back to the upside, which we're now getting. That being said, I don't think that this correction is over. I do think that this is sort of a relief rally before further continuation down to my ultimate targets. But thus far, we've seen a nice rejection of the red zone as expected. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other coins that I mentioned. Here's DOGE. Now DOGE as well has melted from that video. I think we were trading right around 16 cents when I made the video. Was looking for a short here in the short zone. We never got that short. Instead, we melted down to about 12 cents. Now guys, this is just an example of what I was talking about. Many thought and still do think that a move down to sub 6 cents or back down to these lows is impossible. Meanwhile, we have dropped about 30% or so, and we haven't quite obviously got to that target, but I do think we're going to get another leg down. My hope is that we're going to get some relief here across the board shortly, and that will offer a nice short opportunity on coins like Doge for that final leg to the downside, which should be more significant. The first key level that I talked about in the last videos are here on 10 to 11 cents, and if we lose that region, we bring in the 5 cent zone. Now you can see here Doge hasn't quite hit the first target, which is 11 cents. So we could either see another leg down here on Doge before that relief to the upside, or it's possible, if the bottom is already in on Bitcoin here, that we're seeing the relief right now. But either way, I'm looking for a short here in the short zone for that final leg to the downside, which should be fairly significant. Again, if we manage to make it to the short zone, rejection there would be at the bare minimum a move down about 40%. That assumes that we go up from where we are now. If we take these lows already and then go up, then you're looking for a move back below those lows. That brings in a 50+% move to the downside. Now, again, many people are not going to agree with this. They're going to think that this is unrealistic, but we'll talk more about that here in a second, looking at the total market cap chart. In any case, guys, the point of this little recap is to show you guys that the alts that I talked about in the last video have already made their first legs down. And I do think that there's more to come. I don't think that this is quite over for alts. And we'll go back and reference the alt total market cap chart here in a second to further validate that. that. PEPE is another alt that I talked about in that Meme-pocalypse video. If you recall, PEPE is one coin that I said actually looks decent for another move to the upside to take these highs before we go down. And you can see here that PEPE has found some support. Again, with PEPE, I think potentially one more leg down, or we're headed up from here. But either way, I think we are good for the highs right now. And then I think that PEPE is going to see another leg down along with the rest of these major memes, much lower than what we've seen thus far. So PEPE, again, following the plan as expected. Another coin that we talked about was INJ in that video. Now, INJ is not a major altcoin, but the reason that I brought up INJ is because it looks like what a lot of these altcoins look like, which is distributive tops in, first legs down. And we're now looking to retest that breakdown. Now, again, a lot of alts look like this. I just focused on memes in the last video because those were the most easy and obvious, but a lot of alts look like this, where we had these distribution tops, we've had a breakdown, and now we are seeing some relief, but we don't yet have a final low, in my opinion. So something like INJ, again, a lot of alts look like this, where the point of breakdown has not been retested. So we may see a retest of that level. And then, of course, if we manage to break above, that's great. But realistically, I'm expecting a rejection here and then another leg down. So that's an example with INJ. A lot of alts are in this stage where we've gotten the first leg up, we've got another leg down, and we're looking for a third leg up to hit the major areas of resistance across the board. Again, DOGE looks like that, INJ looks like that, but yeah, a lot of coins looking like this. And now when we go to total 3, we can actually see that kind of represented here on the total 3 chart. You can see that thus far we've rejected it. This is kind of like WIF, where we've tested that point of breakdown and rejected. We seem to be seeing a little bit of relief here. And again, what I'm looking for, this is kind of representative of what I expect to see on most alts. One more push up into this major area of supply, take these highs, reject at the supply zone once again, and then a further breakdown. And ultimately, what we're looking for here is a rejection and a push into this green zone. And if I zoom out a little bit, this green zone is essentially a retest of our major accumulation bottom. And this is essentially the second major correction in a nice 5-wave impulse to the upside. And what comes after, as you can see, is going to be very, very aggressive upside, the likes of which we haven't seen since 2021. And once this correction completes. So what this looks like here, again, we have a massive rise of approximately 2 to 3x off of these lows. We're getting a correction that's normal and healthy. This is the major area of resistance. As you can see, we're currently trading underneath it. And until we get above it, we're likely to expect further downside. The major area of support is this region right here. As you can see, we consolidated here for months before seeing the next leg up. So very logical resistance support. All I'm saying is that until we get back above red, we're likely to travel to green. Now from red, if we get some relief across the market from red to green, that's a 30% move to the downside. And what you have to understand is that this chart measures, once again, the top altcoins in the space, which means that if the largest altcoins are going to average 30% down from the highs, then a lot of the smaller altcoins or more volatile altcoins are going to see 50, 60, potentially even 70 to 80% down from these highs. Because again, this is an average of the biggest altcoins, the least volatile altcoins you can say. And if the average big altcoin is going to drop 30%, then your mid to small cap altcoins may drop magnitudes of that, which is how we get the 70 to 80% corrections on alts across the board, despite us being in such a bullish market. So with that being said, guys, essentially what I'm looking for is, again, another leg down that should take us below the last leg. And then I'm looking for a bounce in the green zone, probably a nice base to form, and then the next impulsive move to start off of those levels. That next impulsive move is going to be a lot bigger than what we've seen here already. This was a 2 to 3x move off the lows. This next impulsive move, I expect to be a 4 to 5x off the lows. And again, this is for the biggest altcoins. So your smaller altcoins, your mid-cap altcoins may make 5 to 10x, for example, off of this pullback. And again, we're looking for a minimum target of the prior all-time highs here. And that's just the bare minimum. When we get back above these highs, things tend to go vertical, and that's how we get 4 to 5x off of these lows. Now, again, I wrote this high can vary greatly based on momentum because, again, this chart is not necessarily drawn to scale, and this shows a market cap of anywhere from 1.5 to 2 trillion market cap, but this can extend based on momentum. And we don't know how high this is going to go purely based on how high Bitcoin goes and how much money flows from Bitcoin into alts at this point. So this is definitely a variable factor here, but this is just to give you guys an idea of the structure that we're looking for. We have our first major wave up off the lows, our second consolidation phase, our third wave, which we're now seeing, our fourth wave, which I believe we're now entering, followed by a fifth wave on alts, which is really going to accelerate once Bitcoin tops out at all-time highs as money flows from Bitcoin into these altcoins. The best is yet to come for alts, and this is exactly what I'm expecting to see. And you'll want to mark this level off on your charts at about 530 billion market cap for total 3. That is about where you can start eyeing up potential entries on your alts. Again, you're going to have to look at the alt charts individually because some may fall 20 to 30% down to this region, others will fall fall 40, 50, 60, 70% down before they're ready for that next leg to the upside. At the end of the day, this is just a healthy correction after a massive rally off of these lows, off of a 315 billion market cap to 800 billion market cap. A pullback down to 500 billion, while it seems very significant, is really not that big of a deal compared to where we came from. It's still a lot higher than where our last bottom was, and what follows should be a markup the likes of which, again, we haven't seen in many years. So this was just a quick short video to talk about what I expect to be coming in the weeks and months ahead. Mark off these levels on your charts, pay attention to them as we go. Personally, I'm most excited for the short opportunity from the red zone. I'm looking at a lot of alts. I've already mentioned DOGE. I've mentioned with a lot of these major memes, PEPE as well. I'll be looking to short PEPE once we get back above these highs if PA gives me a nice short entry, because I do think that a lot of these drops from those highs for that second leg are going to be quite significant. You can see here PEPE to the next area of support from the all-time highs is about a 70% move down. With, if it manages to get back to our red zone, back to here is about a 50% move down. DOGE, again, you guys know my targets on DOGE. If we manage to get to the short zone, we're looking at the bare minimum of 40% move down, ideally 60 to 70% move down on DOGE. So again, this applies to a lot of alts, INJ as well. From the short zone, a move down to the lows, that's a 40% move down, lower than that 50 to 60% to the downside. So that being said, guys, my next major play is going to be looking to short if we can approach the short zone, and then I'll be looking to close those shorts and start looking to buy a lot of these alts down here in the green zone. So I hope that makes sense, guys. Again, what you can expect to follow is massive, massive upside. You just need to survive this period of potential drawdown before that next leg up. And whatever you've seen thus far in the last 3 to 6 months, imagine that on steroids essentially for the next 3 to 6 months. That's it for this video update, guys. A short and sweet one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like and share. Add your questions in the comments below and I'll try to get to as many as I can. And I will catch you guys in the next one.